Hello, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I am not wearing green, but you guys can't pinch me, so it's okay. All right, we're going to give it a couple of minutes and then we're going to dive in. Definitely want to have paper and pen, take some notes. Hello, Jeremiah, fellow jiu-jitsu. I got jiu-jitsu as well. Hello, Miss Chapman. Hope your knee is healing. That was a very gnarly scar. Ouch. How are you feeling?
It's probably best that I don't talk because right now I'm on great pain medication, so my speech is a little slurred. Okay. And you're a little on the fuzzy side, but you look great.
Well, thank you. Well, I wish you a speedy recovery. It's always the knees for martial artists, right? It's like the knees are the first thing to go. Well, I hope you start feeling better.
Thank you.
All right. Hello, Submission Coalition. Hello, Mr. Molnar. Hello, Miss Amanda. Jeremiah's dog, who's super cute on the couch. Hello, Amanda for Sturgis Martial Arts. Got the Hamlins represented today. Hello, Mr. Richard. Oh. All right. So this is going to be all about organization, which some of you are going to love and some of you are going to kind of have a little bit of friction with. But I truly believe that when we are organized, when we're structured, when we have systems in place, it allows basically ordinary human beings to do extraordinary things. And I am really going to help you organize the process of launching a promotion or a campaign. You know, one of the number one questions I get is, you know, Chris, we have this Easter egg hunt or our Halloween trunk or treat or our holiday event party is coming up. When do I start marketing? And, you know, same thing for like parent night outs, right? We have a parent night out coming up. So that's really what we're going to be covering today. And this is a great training for team members. So if you have team members that are handling some of the marketing aspects of what you do, typically like a program director or a front desk person would be able to kind of take some of this off of your plate, but obviously you have to train them, right? So this would be a great training for them. And when we email the replay, we'll get this out later on today. I actually have a checklist that you guys can print out. What I like doing with checklists is we actually purchased a lamination machine. They're like $30 from Office Depot. And then we laminate it, and then now they can just use a dry erase marker and check, and it saves some paper. So like all of our checklists we laminate, just makes it a little bit easier and you're not wasting ink and paper. And this is something you could do that with, right? And just have whoever is going to be responsible with the marketing aspect of launching this campaign, give them this checklist and then just have them go right down the row, okay? Just because this is more fun when it's interactive, and thank you for those of you that have your cameras on. That makes it a lot more fun for me. I know some of you are unable to. If you're in the bathroom, don't turn your camera on. If you're driving, don't turn your camera on. But I'd love just everybody tell me something good. Give me some good news. Give me some good news in the chat box. It could be that today's St. Patrick's Day. It could be that you got a full 8 hours of sleep. Just give me some good news in the chat. Let's get some positivity out here. And I'm not going to start until at least one person does it. So I'll just sit here staring at you guys until somebody puts something fun in the chat, because these are more fun when it is engaging. NCAA hoops begins in 11 minutes. All right, Mr. Raven, I hope I'm getting your attention though, and not NCAA hoops, unless you got a couple different monitors going up. Ready to start my road back into training. Absolutely. Miss Chapman just had some gnarly knee surgery. Rotator cuff is healing enough to do some throws. That is great news. It's sunny and warm, 80 degrees. I'll take it. Mr. Molnar, where are you going? Vacation starts Sunday. Where you're going? Finishing a spring break camp. That is great. Brought in 5,000 in revenue. Very good. Amanda, you sent me a DM, which is fine, but nobody else can see it. Kicked off the morning with some running sprints. I'm a big fan of sprinting. I'm not a big fan of running long distance, but I do love sprints. Jacks your heart rate up. Whistler to ski. Awesome. We broke profit record last year, but now need to pay lots of taxes. Well, congratulations on breaking the profit record. One of my favorite quotes, guys, is gross revenue feeds the ego, net feeds the family. Gross feeds the ego, net feeds the family. So congratulations on netting more money than you ever did before. That is amazing. Awesome job. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. This will probably only be about 30 minutes. Not a super long training today, and I'll open it up for any questions at the end. And I do have some good news at the end, something that I probably get requested at least once a week that I'm going to be bringing back. It's something that I launched 4 years ago. I stopped doing it when I really shifted my focus to GrowPro, but literally every week I have people asking me about it. So it's time to bring it back. So I'll have a nice big announcement at the end today. Okay. So let me go ahead and share this screen. Let me get this Facebook out. We still got people coming in, but we need to get rocking and rolling. And as always, as I'm going through, if you have questions, drop them in the chat box, and I will get to them as soon as it makes the most sense. Let me pull my chat over here. Okay, awesome. The 4-week launch process, right? One of the differences between the good schools and the great schools, or the great schools systemize everything that they do. And one of the differences between an owner that is always working in the business versus working on the business is systems, right? It's always going to come down to systems. This is one of the reasons why, I fell in love so much with working with Maya, because I truly believe they have the absolute best systems to help you maximize profitability, which is what our goal is in our business. Like I said earlier, this training isn't just for owners, so I'll shoot the replay out if you guys want to have your team. But a shameless plug I'm going to put out there: if you have not grabbed my book, grab the book, guys. It's like $10 on Amazon, and it is an Amazon bestseller, which is pretty cool. It's the only book specific on marketing and specific to digital marketing in our industry. So if you're kind of enjoying the messaging of today or anything that I've put out, I mean, this is really like exactly how to market your school A to Z through the 7 levels of marketing. And it's not just for school owners. Like, we don't talk about anything in this book that you wouldn't want staff members to know about. So this would be a great, a great book to give your staff members as well, to help them level up their skills, right? If you're feeling like you're constantly being overwhelmed and you're drowning in all of the day-to-days that you have to do, it's because you're not automating, delegating, or deleting. And the only way that you can delegate is if you have a team member on your team that has the skill set that they need to get the results that you want. And this book is really about developing that skill set, okay? I am a big fan of quotes. I do believe that most schools are lacking organization as a whole, which is why when they, do a promotion or have a big event, that it's not as successful as it can be. We kind of always feel like we're trying to play catch up with these campaigns. And that's why I really like this checklist that we're going to go through, because you just start with week 1 and you go down the checklist. Okay. But Benjamin Franklin said, for every minute spent in organizing is an hour earned. Okay. A good system shortens the road to the goal. And my personal favorite by Peter Drucker, somebody that I've looked up to for a while, is the purpose of organization is to enable ordinary human beings to do extraordinary things. This is one of the reasons why, specifically in GrowPro, when I hire people, I'm really looking just for attitude, work ethic, character that they have, more so over long-term experience. Because when you have your systems in place, when you have a specific structure of the way that you need things done, you can give that to an ordinary human being and they can do extraordinary things. All right. And that's what we're going to be covering today. So I always like kind of touching on the frustrations because we're all school owners, right? I own a school in Tampa, Florida. It's a BJJ and MMA school. We are predominantly a kids school, which most jiu-jitsu schools are typically predominantly adults. And because we are a kids school, there's usually just kind of a lot more events that you can do with kids that you couldn't really necessarily do with adults, right? Like spring break camp, which, I mean, I guess there are jiu-jitsu camps that are out there, but I think you guys get the point, right? There's just more opportunity with, you know, a larger kids program and more events. And I think some of the frustrations that, all right, we do an event or we launch a promotion and there's little or no attendance, right? We got to get people in the seats. And the reason why I really created this was because, you know, there was a time period where we would have like a parent night out event when I first opened the school. And it would be, you know, like, oh, okay, the parent night out event is going to be in, you know, 3 weeks and I'll put it in the newsletter. And then I didn't really do anything about it. And then I forgot about it. And then the Monday of the week of the parent night out, you start scrambling because you got to get all of these items in line. And sometimes we just literally forget to market it. I think oftentimes school owners spend more time on the organization of how the event is going to be run, right? Or ran, right? Like if we're doing a P&O, I need to have like the schedule, you know, minute by minute. What are the supplies that we're going to need to get? Who's the staff that's going to be working it? And you put all of this time and effort into that, but then you don't put the time and effort into actually marketing the thing, okay? And that's what this checklist is going to help you overcome. And then typically just not having the resources you need in order to market successfully. Okay, there are certain tools and platforms. That's one of the beautiful things about technology, right? It can cut down the amount of time. It can cut down the amount of staff members that we need if we have access to those things. So, you know, in order to be successful in marketing a marketing campaign, I mean, you're going to need a Facebook ads manager, right? You're going to need a Facebook business page. You're going to need the ability to segment email lists so that if you're emailing about a kids event, that's not being blasted out to adult prospects that wouldn't be interested in that. Okay. So there are some resources that you're going to need in order to be successful. I think we all just kind of want a clear roadmap. Okay. Like step by step, this is what I do. Step 1, step 2, step 3. We also want to know when, right? When does that email go out? When does the social media post go out? Because if you tell your program director, I need you to post about our Easter egg hunt that's coming up, then the question they're going to ask is, well, how many posts do you want? What's the type of content that you want me to put out? When do you want those posts going out? Same thing with the emails and the text messages. So we need to have a clear cut, like this is when we're going to do this for this particular campaign. And then in order to have the absolute most success, we've got to hit all of the 7 levels of marketing. And those 7 levels of marketing, I've done webinars on it. If you haven't attended, you can go to growproagency.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom. Every single webinar that we do, we put on the website. There's no cost to it. It's completely free. It's my way of giving back to this industry. But you got to have all of those lines out in the ocean, right? I always say this, if we're going fishing and I have 7 poles and you have 1 pole, I am going to catch more fish. I just have more lines out in the ocean, okay? So with this checklist, we're going to ensure that we're hitting all of those 7 levels of marketing, okay? If that sounds good, do me a favor, give me a 1 in the chat box if you're ready to unpack the 4-week launch process. Thank you, Ms. Palos, Mr. Raven. Awesome. Mr. Wong, one of our brand new Grow Pro clients. Nice to see you on here, sir. Okay, this is going to kind of put the, put the bow on this presentation is you got to have a marketing calendar, guys. I, am really, really, I'll use the word anal about this, but most of you have an event calendar where, your calendar says the date of the event that's going on. It might have like your holidays when you guys are closed or when your camp dates are, but you don't have the marketing actions that need to take place in order for those things to be successful. And that is, going to be a stark difference between a school that does really well with their marketing campaigns and one that doesn't. So from the checklist, ideally, you're going to transfer this over to a calendar, whether it's a physical calendar or an online calendar, and we'll touch on that in a second, okay? The 7 levels of marketing, and I color-coded it just so that you can see on the checklist, like, okay, that's all the organic social media stuff. When we say organic, that just means stuff that doesn't cost you any money, right? Posting on Facebook, doing Facebook Lives, creating the event on your Facebook business page, posting on Instagram, posting on your Google business profile. Those are just all examples that would fall in line with organic social media, okay? The second aspect is your website, your Google business profile, any blogs that you would potentially write. And then, because we live in a digital age where people want to be able to easily sign up for things, you have to have somewhere to send them, whether that's a landing page, whether it's an offer page. Some of you might call these checkout pages, but those just aren't magically like in your CRM. It's something you actually have to create. So there's some kind of like grunt work that has to be done in the beginning so that you can do all of the other 7 levels of marketing. Depending on what the promotion is, paid ads, Facebook, Instagram, Google, now TikTok, emails and text messaging marketing campaigns. And, I think where most school owners drop the ball is they just send one out, right? There's just this one blast email and that's it. And for some of your promotions and events, like a parent night out event, we have to do very little marketing for our school for parent night out events, because typically the announcements that we make in class are enough to fill them up. Okay. We have, really great themes. We have social proof of kids having really great times at them. So depending on what the event might be, you might not have to go through all of these 7 levels of marketing. But if it was something like an Easter egg hunt, and I keep using Easter because it's right around the corner, you're gonna want to hit all of these, especially when it's a prospecting event, right? So we have kind of like internal retention events, which sometimes you can completely fill up with just announcements on the mat. But maybe you haven't ran parent night outs or you haven't been consistent with them. Then you're going to have to go through more of these levels of marketing. Just curious, can anybody sell out their parent night out event without really having to market? Let me know yes in the chat box if it's like, yeah, all we really need to do is make announcements and we sell it out. Hey, Miss Paulus, no. Miss Chapman, no. Miss Amanda, yes. Okay, so we're seeing some yeses and some nos. So depending on whether or not you do have that ability, specifically with your retention style of events, you're not going to have to go through 4 weeks of a launch process, okay? This is really built for these larger prospecting promotions, but there can absolutely be some overlap if you are unable to fill up your parent night out event, okay? So let's talk about, well, Chris, what should I have on my calendar every month? I like simplicity. Simplicity scales. So when we are creating our calendar and what we are committing to doing every single month, when I look on that calendar, I need to see 3 things. There needs to be something for recruiting, whether that is, maybe a mass intro or a buddy day or a buddy week, or we're doing double referral rewards. There's got to be something on the calendar for recruiting. There's got to be something on the calendar for retention, such as, we are going to do in parent night out, an in-house tournament. And then there's got to be something on the calendar for revenue. And where I think some school owners kind of try to cheat it is they say, well, our parent night out event, we let the first 10 kids bring a friend. So that's recruiting. It is a retention event because the kids are having fun outside of class under our roof, and we're charging for it. So there you go. All I need to do is put one parent night out event on my calendar and I hit recruiting, retention, and revenue. And I just think that that's kind of a shortcut way to look at it. Okay. Now, if you've never done this, that's a good starting point. But ideally, we want to see something on the calendar for recruiting, something on the calendar for retention, and something on the calendar for revenue. And that's a really great place to start. And eventually, as you get bigger, you might have multiple recruiting events. You might have multiple retention events, one for your kids program, one for your adults program. But just as kind of like a foundational piece, I want you guys committing to one thing on the calendar every single month that falls into each one of those categories. Does that make sense? Right? Simplicity scales. Let's just keep it simple on that. Okay. So the 4-week launch process. For whatever reason, I don't know, maybe it was my high school English teacher, but I really like alliteration. I really like acronyms. So this is kind of the process. Don't really get too tied up into the name, but we've got prep week, prime week, pump week, and pull week. Okay, so we're gonna prep for the event. We're gonna kind of prime up our audience. We're gonna pump and put it out in front of everybody, and then we're gonna pull all the final stops if we still have seats available or spots available for whatever we're pushing. Okay, so that's kind of what that means. I don't get too caught up into the names. It's, you know, really just a way to categorize each thing that we're doing. Okay, so we're going to use kind of an Easter event. Is anybody, I'm just curious, is anybody hosting any form of like Easter egg hunt at their school, or are they participating as a sponsor in an Easter egg hunt? Let me know yes or no in the comments. All right, seeing a lot of no's. All right, one yes. Guys, this is a great both. I love it. So we're hosting something at the school and we're sponsoring. So for our location and the way that it's set up, an Easter egg hunt would just be at our school, would be kind of difficult with just the parking lot, and there's a lot of other businesses. There's not a lot of grass. And for the number of students, we would have to do like a lot of different sessions of the Easter egg hunt. So what we choose to do is we choose to be a platinum sponsor at the West Chase Easter egg hunt, where they have literally thousands of families that come through, right? So that's an example of being able to leverage an Easter egg, so, you know, some form of prospecting or technically retention too, right? If it was only for your students. But I would, you know, be a big fan is if you have the room, well, ask your students to bring friends to this, right? So now it's not only a retention event, but it's also a recruiting event. Okay, so I just want you to get some form of event in your head. So like, as we're going through this, you can kind of think like, okay, well, for like a big promotion, like an Easter egg hunt, this would kind of make sense. But for a parent night out event, might not make sense to hit all of these different steps. Okay. And guys, you still have time, right? Like Easter isn't for another 3.5 weeks. So if you don't have something on the calendar, like you still have time to get it in. All right. I wouldn't just write it off. So first things first, and again, I'm going to give you guys this checklist right here. So you're going to get this in the follow-up email, so you'll be able to print it out. It's got it step by step. I always think it's still good writing stuff down. There's something that happens when you transfer, you know, notes from your head down to paper. So feel free to continue to do that. But the first thing that we're going to do is you got to order your print marketing. Okay. And print marketing is not dead. And I would even argue to say that print marketing works really, really well right now because everything is digital, right? I remember when we were just coming off of COVID, where every business had decided to come online. And, you know, like Facebook ad costs were rising because so many businesses were advertising because there really wasn't any other way to advertise during COVID. We were like, you know what? Let's go old school direct mail campaign. And we put mailers out to a couple of the routes that are within very close distance of our martial arts school. And it was one of the best direct marketing campaigns that we've ever done. And it was just because people were being bombarded online with ads, and they're just on their, you know, computers or watching TV or, you know, binging Netflix, that getting into their inbox was their mailbox worked really, really well. Okay. But you can't wait to the last minute on this. This is why it's got to be one of the first things that get done during that prep week, right? So 4 weeks out, we're going to order our print marketing. And everything in our business, we got to make a decision. Either we are going to spend our time and our energy and sometimes money to learn how to do it ourselves, or we're going to outsource it. Okay. I love Canva. All right. I love messing around on Canva. I create these keynotes on Canva, but I am not a graphic designer in any way. And I can tell you that I have spent a lot of wasted time trying to create flyers that are in line with our, brand awareness that I'm happy to put out in front of people, when I simply just could have gone to the Maya Edge website and downloaded the professional flyer that was made by a professional graphic designer. Or I could have gone to Fiverr and hired somebody for $15 to do it. Okay. You're always going to make that decision in your business. Do I either spend the time and the energy and maybe the stress of it, or do I just outsource it and pay it out? And I think that this is one of the biggest frustrations for a lot of school owners when they're going to market, is that they just don't have a graphic design. So you go into Canva and you use a template and you're spending all of this time when you could have just outsourced it or used a company like Maya Edge. Okay. But that's the first thing you got to do, is you got to order your print marketing, because it's going to take time for that to be created and you have to wait for it to be shipped to you. Okay. The next thing that's got to get done is you got to create how people are going to sign up online. Okay. You need to have the ability for people to be able to sign up online. This was one of the biggest hurdles for martial arts schools during COVID, that weren't utilizing CRMs. I saw so many posts. Honestly, it was sad. I saw so many posts in the Century Martial Arts group saying, we do in-house billing, or people have to come in to pay us. It's like, you're going to have a really, really hard time getting people's payments then, right? We have to be with the times, and we have to make sure it's easy for them to sign up for whatever it is that we're putting out there. I think one important kind of tip to remember, though, is a lot of these kind of checkout pages, when you have people register, will sometimes ask a lot of questions, like such as the address. While having somebody's address is great, it's not a total necessity for them to register for an Easter egg hunt. And the more and more and more and more information that you're requesting and accessing, that adds just customer friction that might be a turnoff to some people. Really, we just need name, email, and phone number. And in some cases, you're going to want to know the child's age, right? Because are you going to let a 3-year-old come to your parent night out event? Probably not. Okay. Next up is the phone is the lifeblood of our business. All right. And I ask this often when I'm on stage and I'm speaking, like, how many of you truly love to make phone calls? And there's like only one person that ever raises their hand. Amanda, that's you today, right? It's like, all right, I don't mind making phone calls, but a lot of people, it's not at the top of their like fun to do list. However, it is still vital. And yes, a lot of people prefer text messaging. However, there's nothing more powerful than building that rapport on the phone. Okay. So if you are going to be having your team making outgoing calls, you need to draft up a phone script. Now, I'm not a big fan of like writing out word by word by word, because then they sound like a robot. I'm more of a fan of using a framework, and we use the 4 steps of selling framework when we make outgoing calls. That's a Maya system that we have in place. So we can just bullet point those 4 steps, and they use that as a framework to make the outgoing calls, inviting people to the Easter egg hunt. Okay. Probably the most time consuming out of this is going to be writing and scheduling emails. Okay. I am a big fan of developing skills. All right. Hashtag skill collector. I say that all the time. And as entrepreneurs, I mean, really think, guys, like, how many skills have you collected trying to learn how to run your business? And what's so cool is nobody can ever take that away from you. Like, that is yours. And those skills can actually help you, in other businesses that you want to do, right? Melissa, I think you guys, have a podcast, right? Would you be able to run that podcast if you didn't have kind of the skill set of being an entrepreneur in a small business? It would probably be a lot harder, right? So I'm a huge fan of skill collecting. And one of the skills that I absolutely believe that you have to have, either someone has the ability on your team or you outsource it, is copywriting. Okay. Copywriting is just writing to persuade. And when you think of everything that we do, whether it's your website, whether it's a social media post, whether it's an email, text message, whether it's a conversation that you're having in the lobby with one of the parents who you want them to sign up for the Easter egg hunt, You are writing or speaking to persuade somebody to do something, okay? And it's a very powerful skill. It's one that kind of came naturally to me because I have a degree in education. Not everybody has that. Not everybody would like to sit down and have to sit and write content. That is actually something that I enjoy doing. And usually if you don't enjoy doing something, you don't put a ton of time and effort into it. So there are specific add-on programs that some CRMs offer that they'll write the emails for you and they'll schedule them out. We actually have a program at GrowPro in our, it's called our database reactivation program, where we actually craft emails and we blast them out for our clients, okay? But you can't skip the very important steps of emails and text messaging. And email is not dead. No matter what anybody tells you, email is not dead, and it's the only thing that you own. You don't own Facebook ads, you don't own Instagrams, you don't own Google ads, but you own your email list, okay? So crafting those emails, and again, I told you, it can't just be a one-off blast. I mean, I checked my email twice today. I've deleted probably 3 times the amount of emails that I actually read, right? People are just on autopilot when they're looking at their email, clicking delete, 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 which is why you have to have full-on campaigns, okay? I actually have a webinar called the 6 Steps of Crafting Email Marketing Campaigns. It's on the GrowPro site. So if you're struggling with putting those emails and text messages together, you can learn it yourself through the webinar, or you can outsource it. There are companies, we actually use a company called SEO Content Hero. And we hire them to write emails for us. We hire them to write blogs for us, just because now we can hire a professional, but I don't have to pay a full-on salary. I'll never forget when I was wanting to get my GrowPro website written out, I got quoted $6,000 just for the copywriting on the website. That's not even including building out the website. It was just the words that went on the website. I was like, my mind was blown from there, okay? So there are companies out there that you can outsource it, but I do think it's a skill that you should develop because you're always going to use this, right? We're always going to have this need of communicating to persuade people to make a decision, okay? And persuasion in a good way, right? Because who doesn't want to go to an Easter egg hunt? It's fun, okay? So that is a skill that you have to develop. And I think because not a lot of people have that skill, they're like, yeah, I'm not writing those 6 emails. Okay. So again, if you want to find out more about that, I got a webinar on that as well. Mr. Wong said, just signed up for Market Muscles and the new Pulse CRM. That is a great decision, sir. Congratulations. Okay. So writing and scheduling out the emails, this is what we call batching. Okay. Most people that do podcasts, most people that have things that have to go out on a consistent basis, instead of doing it the day of, because that can get stressful or life can get in the way, they batch it. And that's what I'm challenging you to do, right? Sit down and write out all the emails, schedule them out. And that first email, which is what I call a teaser email, and you can learn this whole process in that webinar, is going to go out that first week. And it's just a little tease of what's coming up, okay? Depending on the event, if it's a recruiting event, 100% would have ads going. Something like a parent night out event, you could, run ads for your parent night out event if you're not filling up all the seats. You just wouldn't need a super large budget, which is good, right? And then in terms of organic social media that first week, is you always want to make sure you're creating an event on your Facebook business page. This is actually something that Facebook has made really, really kind of simple, plug and play, like put in the title, put in the date. But they're going to ask you for a sign-up link, which is why that sign-up link needs to be one of the very first things that you're doing so that you can put it in these other avenues when you're marketing. You got to make the event, okay? I think the hardest part about making the event is probably creating the sign-up link and then creating a cover photo, which you could absolutely use Canva for a cover photo, okay? And then scheduling out those organic posts. So if I'm having an Easter egg hunt in 4 weeks, I want at least a post a week going out, reminding people that we have this event coming up, okay? If it's a recruiting event, that's gonna be more on your Facebook business page. If it is a retention event, that can live more so in your Facebook group, okay? Which hopefully you have a Facebook group. So that is week one. That's what you got to do, right? So if when is Easter? That is terrible. That I don't know the date. Anybody? All right, it's the 17th, right? So if this is the 17th, it's March 17th right now. We're 4 weeks out. So this prep week, if you wanted to do an Easter egg hunt the weekend of Easter, wouldn't do it necessarily on Easter Sunday, but on that Saturday, then the marketing would start next week. Okay, so you're just going to back up 4 weeks from whenever the event is. Okay, then that brings us to week 2, which is what we call prime week. Okay, we're priming up the audience. And this is really where you're going to start your mat chats, right? This is where you're going to start letting your members know if it's a retention event, if it's a prospecting event that your members can help you with. You got to make sure that it's during the announcements. We do our announcements during the mat chats, okay? Another aspect of print marketing, and this is something that we just continuously have in our inventory, are rat cards. And this would really, rat cards are basically these like 4 by, I think they're 4 by 9. And you put them in other small businesses, okay? And super simple. I'll never forget, we hired this guy to come out. He's pretty well known in our industry. I'm not going to say any names. We hired him and like spent a few $1,000s for him to come out and put rat cards out. And he shows up and I'm like, okay, well, where are we going? You know, I'm thinking like, all right, man, I'm paying this guy a few $1,000s. He's going to have a list of all the small businesses that are in the area because he researched where we're at. And he's going to say, all right, we're going to go to this place. And then he was like, oh, no, we're just going to hop in the car. And, you know, if I see a business that I think will accept your rat cards, then we'll put them in there. I was like, what? And it's super simple. You just go into these businesses and you say, hey, you know, I'm a small business owner. I own the martial arts school down the road. And we are trying to help our community market. We have these new member packets where we like to put different offerings from the other businesses around. You know, would you be down? You know, do you have any marketing materials that I can take so I can give this to all of our members? You're basically asking them, can I market for free? What do you think they're going to say? Of course. And then they're going to give you their marketing materials. And when you give, then you get to ask. And that's where you're asked, oh, well, would you mind putting my rat cards in here? Okay. Where would like really rat cards make sense on a promotion? Well, think of the major times during the year. Okay, there's 3 major times during the year for our marketing to really come alive. That's going into summer, coming out of summer, and going into the new year. Okay, do you need to do rat cards for a parent night out event? No. Okay, so that's why you just kind of need to determine the level of the promotion that you have going on. And typically, if it's time for rat cards to go out, it's also time for bandit signs to go out. Bandit signs are the little road signs that you can put, you know, down in the grass. In some areas, you're not allowed to do it. I think it's one of those things you kind of ask for forgiveness instead of permission. We put them out Friday night, pick them up Monday morning before code enforcement can come get them because they're not cheap. You're going to spend, you know, probably $400 to $500 to get 50 of them because you got to get them printed. And then you got to get the stake that goes in the ground as well. It's not something you necessarily want code enforcement to grab and throw away. Okay. But that's just another example of print marketing based off of how big of a promotion are we doing here. Okay. The second week is when we're going to have our social media posts start going out. And again, week 1, we want to batch it, right? We want to create those posts and schedule the posts so we don't have to remember to post them individually. You can schedule your posts on the back end of your Facebook business page. Facebook has something called a creator studio that not a lot of people know about. And there are other platforms that you can pay for. Hootsuite is one that a lot of people know of. And you actually have to pay to be able to use it, though, to schedule it out. I think it's freemium, like you can use some of the features for free, but then, you know, they'll try to upsell you. But you have this built in, and what's cool, you can also schedule it on Instagram. So you can schedule your posts on Facebook, Instagram, and now you can even schedule stories and you can schedule reels. So it's this whole mindset of let me just batch all of this kind of work up front so that I can schedule everything out and I don't have to remember, oh, the social media post is supposed to go out today, okay? The call list. Amanda, you will like this. So inside of your CRM, you should be able to see your contacts and when they opted in. You know, a lead that opts in today is going to be a lot warmer or hotter than a lead that opted in 6 months ago. Okay. And especially leads that have come in for an appointment, but never either purchased a trial or enrolled, or people that purchased a trial and never enrolled. Okay. Those are what we would consider hot and warm. And we want to create this list, and we need to set time aside on our, hopefully you have some form of time blocking sheet. This is something that I've been on stage the last few months talking about. And you have a specific hour or 2 hours where all you're doing is making these calls. And guess what you're using? You're using the phone script that was created the week before, that framework, to reach out and start making the calls. Okay, so we're going to create that list, and we always want to follow up with those hot leads and warm leads first. Okay. Week 2 is also going to be when another email goes out and when your first text message goes out. Okay. Text message open rates, 97%. Email open rates, you're lucky to get about 20%. Now, does that guarantee a response because they opened it? No, but there's not many people that don't look at their text messages. Okay, so you need to have this capability. And if you have a CRM that doesn't have this capability of sending out text messages, I highly recommend that you have one. When I came on the Maya team as their marketing consultant, I was like, okay, cool. You know, can we send out text messages? And they were like, no, our CRM doesn't allow us to do that. And it took almost 2 years for me to be able to convince them to get a CRM that can send text messages. All right. It is an incredibly powerful feature that you need that ability to have. Okay. So that's week number 2. Let's now go into week number 3. Launch paid ads. Okay. So a solid 2 weeks with a larger budget is something that I prefer than 4 weeks with a smaller budget. Okay. Now, if this was something like the holiday event, something that Maya pushes, that is our biggest event of the year. I mean, there are people on this call that have done Maya's holiday event that have made over 6 figures in 4 hours. 6 figures in 4 hours. That's cash collected. That's not what the total cost of all the contracts are. That is cash collected. That is the biggest event of the year, right? I would start the ads a little bit sooner for something like that. That's why I put the asterisk. But you are going to get more bang for your buck if you have a shorter advertising period with a higher dollar amount than a longer advertising period and a shorter dollar amount. Okay, so that's just something to consider, but that's why I put the asterisk there on week 3. We're gonna have another post that goes out. We're gonna be picking up those phone calls, having time on the schedule every single day to make those calls. And we have 2 more emails that go out, okay? And then last up, our pull week. Really, this is just all stuff that should have already been scheduled out, right? We scheduled the emails, we scheduled the social media posts during the 4th week. All right, so this is where you can really just kind of pull out all the stops. If you need to continue making phone calls, if you need to, increase your ad spend budget, you want to pull out all the stops on that last week to get all of those spots filled. Okay, but every single one of these items on week 4, you would have scheduled out on week 1. So it gives you that time to pull out all the stops if you need to. Okay, so this is the checklist that you guys are going to get, right? It's got little check boxes for you: week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. And then what my recommendation is, and what we do, is we have this huge at a glance calendar. You can buy it on Amazon. They're like $24, $25. And, I like color coordinating. I like organization like that. So we buy a bunch of different dry erase colored markers, and we take these items on the checklist and plug them into the necessary week, right? So if Easter was on the 17th, we need to start that second to last week of March, okay? And you literally put order print marketing and you write it on the calendar, create the sign up page and you write it on the calendar, okay? And you have a little bit of leniency depending on what you have going on during the week. Maybe on Monday, you do your staff meeting, and on Wednesdays, you do staff training. So Mondays and Wednesdays are a little bit more full. Well, then I would want my program director to focus these items on the days that aren't as full, like a Tuesday or a Thursday. Okay, so that's why it's not like Monday you do this, Tuesday you do that. That's not what I'm giving you, right? I'm giving you some leniency of when you plug this in on your calendar, because all of our team members have different responsibilities depending on what day it is. And for us, Monday is our level 10. Monday is also a really big follow-up day. Why? Because we have to follow up with all the leads that came in over the weekend, right? You're playing kind of catch up with that. And again, Wednesday's our staff training. Okay, that's like 2 hours taken out of the day. We got to prep for the staff training, then we got to run the staff training. So it really wouldn't make sense to plug all of these things in on Monday and Wednesday. We'd want to break that up on Tuesday and Thursday, for example, in my school. Okay. Then, because a dry erase calendar can only be seen by the people that are standing in front of it, I am a fan of pulling this into your Google Calendar. We use Google Calendar. Everybody on our team has access to it. For me, as an offsite owner, this is how I'm able to make sure my team is doing everything that they need to be doing. Once they do it, they change the color from whatever color it is to gray. So I can literally go look at the calendar and I can say, okay, it's Thursday, March 17th. Did they do what they were supposed to do today? If it's grayed out, that means it's done. For me, being an offsite owner, because I work out of our GrowPro offices, this was a non-negotiable in order for everybody to stay on track. Now, if you gave this to your program director, do you think they're going to be less successful or more successful with getting these marketing items done? They're going to be more successful, right? You're literally giving them the roadmap of what needs to be done every day. Now, you might be looking at this and say, yeah, Chris, that's a lot of work. Like, I mean, it maybe took me an hour to put this in the calendar. And I think that is, you know, the focus is work more on the front end so you don't have to work on the back end. And this has been really game changing for us. We do this on an annual basis. So we actually get together at the end of December and we plan out our entire year. If you've never done that, I wouldn't recommend this. What I would recommend, especially because we're coming to the end of the first quarter, is get everything on the calendar for the second quarter. Okay. And now you're literally handing your team members a roadmap of what needs to be done on a daily basis. There's no questions about it. The color coordinating will let you know whether or not it got done. And that's my challenge to you, right? We're here March 17th. Ms. Chapman, I hope you have your quarterly EOS meeting on the calendar somewhere, because we're coming up to the end of the quarter. And my recommendation is set up the next 90 days. You get one recruiting event, one retention event, one revenue event on the calendar, and then you plug and play this 4-week launch process for those major promotions and put that on the calendar. And then it's done, right? I would rather take like one day and put all of my effort and energy in this and know that the entire rest of my quarter is done. And you're never going to feel like you're playing catch up if you are organized in this way. And I know that some of us are, you're looking at this and you're like, this is my jam, right? If you like label yourself as somebody that likes organization or structure, or you're a planner person and you've got like 12 different colors, you're like, this is my stuff. For those of you that, and typically A-type personalities, right? If you're not like that way, this could be a little bit more difficult. But like I said earlier, guys, having this level of organization, having these systems in place, allow you to take ordinary team members and turn them into extraordinary team members. And it takes it off of your plate and it puts it on theirs. Okay. Any questions on this 4-week launch process? You'll get the checklist here in a couple of hours once the video processes. Does anybody have any questions on what I just went over? What would you consider a revenue event? Yeah, pro shop sales. So we actually have that at the end of April on our calendar. So like a pro shop promotion. Now's a really good time to do that as we're going into spring, especially if you have like a bunch of hoodies that didn't sell. So a revenue event, you could consider like a pro shop event, okay? Any other questions? And again, like, could you consider a mass intro a revenue event? If it was a successful one, absolutely. So there's certain events that would fall into multiple categories. I just want you to make sure that you have one each month. Another example of a revenue event would be, you know, buy 5 private lessons, get 2 free, right? Or selling some form of private lesson packaging. That would be another example. Birthday parties, right? We're going to do a 10% sale off of birthday parties if they purchase the birthday party this month, right? The birthday party doesn't have to happen this month, but the purchase of it does. All right, any other questions? Okay, so I told you earlier that we're doing belt promotions this week. So belt, oh, that's a great, yeah, perfect. Miss Chapman is doing belt promotions this week. So they are putting belt displays on sale. That's another great revenue strategy. Okay, so about 4 years ago, one of the coolest moments, and we'll wrap up here in a minute. If you have questions while I'm talking, put them in the chat. It was the very first time I ever spoke at a Maya event. It was 3 years ago in February in Orlando. And we launched my 8-week marketing mastermind. And it was the very first time people started chucking credit cards at me. And it was one of the coolest feelings ever. And I taught the 8-week marketing mastermind. I probably did like almost 10 sessions. I would do 8 weeks. I'd take a couple of weeks. I'd do another 8 weeks, take a couple of weeks off. I'm bringing it back because I literally get requests for it every single week. However, I'm updating it, right? Because Facebook in 2019 is much different than Facebook today. We did 4 weeks on Facebook. 1 week was organic, 3 weeks was paid. We did 2 weeks on Google, and we did 2 weeks on Instagram. We are going to be changing that up. We are going to be focusing on Facebook. We're going to be focusing on Instagram, and we are going to be focusing on TikTok. So if that is something you guys are interested in, it's going to be starting in April. You guys are on the email list. You'll get it. It's only $500 for the 8 weeks. This is something your team can do. You don't have to do it. Okay. Your team can do this. And if you like my teaching style, like these webinars, that's exactly what we do. They get homework assignments. We'll have a Facebook group, but I'm getting so many questions about it. So I just wanted to let you guys know that I will be bringing it back. I'm rebranding it a little bit, but I'm really excited for it. Miss Chapman says those were the best classes. Miss Paolo says yes. Awesome. Thanks. Okay, guys, any other questions before we wrap up? No? All right. And I know I'm going to be seeing Mr. Molnar soon at the 7-Figure CEO, my event. If you want to come down to Tampa, Florida, it's beautiful down here. May 13th and 14th, I'm putting on a 2-day event. Would love to see you guys. I appreciate your time and energy and spending some time with me today. And I hope everybody has a great day. See you later.